Hi, I'm Delegate Scott Suravel, and we're here tonight on April the 24th to hear presentations from 3 of our Amundson Fellows. And the Amundson Fellowship Program is a program that we created, that Delegate Amundson started. She called it the Young Leaders Program back when she was in the House of Delegates. I took it up after I was elected in 2009, and basically we invite 7 high school students from Mount Vernon, West Potomac, Hayfield, and or the private schools that serve this area to come down to Richmond, see how Richmond works, and then we asked them to do a proposal for us on a public policy issue related to state government in completion of their fellowship. And tonight we're going to hear presentations from 3 of our Amundson Fellows who have completed the program and hear what they have to say about ways we can make life better here in the Mount Vernon area through state government. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Adele Alu, and I have made a 4-stage plan to addressing how to save the watershed. So the 4 stages of my plan include prevention, removal, renovation, and preservation. So the first approach, the first stage, prevention, would consist of implementing things that would stop incoming pollution and any other harmful effects going into the watershed, so that we can stop, first of all, stop trash and pollution, and also it'll help when we make estimates on the amount of effort that we need. Things don't keep changing and stay static over time. So some approaches that I identified are using things such as smart sponge filters that can be installed into storm drains that would remove heavy metals and are relatively cheap and versatile and can be implemented almost in any storm drain. They're cheap enough that they can actually be delegated to the responsibility of local shop owners and major and key violators of dumping and pollution, and charges can be mandated onto those areas, who can then pay for the sponges. Another way is putting up, initially to put up mechanical barriers around key sites, so increase of fencing around certain areas that have high traffic and have a lot of littering and other dumping, just to mostly temporarily to prevent further degradation of the sites until other measures can be implemented. Another thing I noticed in our area in Fairfax County is the lack of distinct signs which address no dumping, and also at the same time educate constituents about where storm drains drain into and where that water leads to. So I thought that implementing signs and actually posting signs in key areas would be the first measure into reducing dumping and the impact of people in certain areas. And other simple steps can be taken in the neighborhoods, such as when our impervious area is made up, 34% of our impervious area in the county is made up of sidewalks and roads. We have a lot of runoff from these impervious surfaces into the watershed, and things like rain barrels and sprinklers can be used to reduce the amount of runoff that is put into the creek. So the second stage would be removal, which is to actually go in and remove the trash and litter and other pollutants from the creek. We've seen efforts like this, like the annual Potomac watershed cleanup led by Delegate Suravel and co. But there are other things that could be used to remove more litter. There are 3 current, at least publicized initiatives that clean up the watershed in this area. There could be more. More initiatives could be established, but also the use of green barriers. When I say green barriers, I mean the implementation of natural barriers that prevent runoff from reaching a stream bed, so such as planting certain grasses along stream bed, not necessarily re-landscaping an entire area, but along the edge to prevent from pollution from reaching the stream bed, which is actually vital in the future for restoring the creek. And third, we have other solutions that can be thought of if we were to incentivize finding a solution. So another way that these solutions can be found, I believe, is through crowdsourcing. We come from a very large and populous county with a high number of college enrollees, as well as competitive students, as well as those who work in various environmental and engineering agencies on base and in DC. So we have a high we have a high concentration of professionals in the STEM fields, and we should really capitalize on that and crowdsource the solutions. So we could incentivize the design of some type of method, or maybe even a device, by offering scholarship awards, grants to students, grants to professionals. We could also offer awards at science fairs. These things are taken notice by, especially by competitive kids, and have often been implemented in real world solutions found at science fairs, and recently is becoming a trending way to solve certain solutions. Crowdsourcing generally to the general public is actually powerful, because we could actually get input from companies around or groups around the nation without actually having to pay engineering and design costs. So, and it would be quicker because now we have a larger force working on the problem. All right.
Is this all in your PowerPoint too?
Yeah. I just feel like it's not going to be seen, so.
All right. I can try and get it.
It's fine.
Okay.
So renovation. So this really is the simple part and not really my forte, but it'd be actually renewing the biological activity at the stream beds. It would be going in and possibly landscaping the stream beds to grow again. But I noticed that so far that the implementations in Fairfax County has been to restore the creeks how they were naturally. I don't think this is the right way to do it. I think that we should, when we re-landscape and restore them, that we should possibly have design it so that it would prevent further harmful pollution and effects, such as like silting. We could raise stream edges and put rocks around the side rather than just laying down seeds and removing trash. We should also be designing a buffer in each site that we visit, so that naturally it will be able to prevent further degradation. While that's as much as I have for renovation, I think that that's an important point to keep in mind when doing that. So again, I said using sustainable designs and green barriers would be the way to permanently or better fix the watershed. Last is preservation, which is the whole which focuses really on community involvement, but also some policy changes by Fairfax County. I see that we have not updated we have varying policies on sidewalk construction, and in some newly developed areas we've removed the green space from sidewalks. But we also don't use simple things like, we don't use, I believe it's swarm, or it's a different type of grass. There are different types of grasses for certain regions that are more effective at retaining possibly heavy metals and runoff that aren't actually used in Fairfax County. I believe that the initial cost will be offset in the future, of course, by installing different grasses onto these sidewalks and maintaining green spaces in sidewalks instead of removing them like you see now in shopping centers. Other than that, there's also communal efforts. Now, when trying to implement all these 4 stages, I've identified 4 key areas that we should really focus on. specifically education, community funding, and policy that we would really need to address to make any one of these things successful. So in education, of course, we have things like distributing information to neighborhoods, but I think that we haven't organized neighborhoods well enough. I think that communities don't get involved, particularly because there's no established fashion to get involved. There's no normal way to get involved in your community. I can't go up to the average person and be like, do you know any green initiatives in your community or in this area? It's not an established thing. You can independently recycle, you can independently, not litter, you can independently reduce your footprint, but you don't have a collective way to address problems in the environment. So to make it interdependent, I thought that much like how Fairfax County has the Human Relations Committee, or the HRAC, and several committees that pull constituents and citizens from different areas in the county, that we should also create a similar but less formal committee on the environment in this area, where now representatives and / ambassadors from each neighborhood could be selected or would become involved independently, and that they would become not only a representative but also I want to say encouraging force, but there's a better word for it.
Ambassador.
Right, used earlier, huh? An ambassador that would actually go around to their communities and their neighborhoods and speak to the people. I feel like we should not, that the average flyer is ignored, that in this case that the word-to-word, the neighborhood face would be the more powerful media to go through. I also see the close proximity to schools to be used as an advantage, because we do not have, as a school system, long transit times for most students. They're actually relatively close high schools. So several initiatives can be kind of offset or sourced to the schools with establishing green clubs. I know that they exist so far, but much like the National Honor Society has a central guiding it's almost bureau that outlines objectives for each for the chapters, that there should be a similar standard group or club in schools, or possibly an integration or a collective of already established organizations at schools that meet certain objectives that Fairfax County or a committee, a neighborhood committee, sets for them. Also, you have the promotion of things like rain barrels can be sourced to school fundraisers. So not only, so it's going to basically end up being kids selling to their own parents and also to the community, and it ends up being a fundraiser and also promoting the use of rain barrels.
Does West Potomac and Mount Vernon have green clubs?
Yeah, they have an environmental.
Ecology club.
We have an ecology club that
it doesn't do too much, but
yeah,
we have someone we talk to about.
Yeah. There's not any particular effort, and it's mostly because of a lack of direction. A lack of direction that I think could be solved by, again, a neighborhood committee that would set these objectives. Again, also just to mention that sprinklers thing I mentioned earlier, literally is a setting found on most sprinklers today, and all it takes is a turn of a knob. But you know, when people have their sprinklers and it goes off into the sidewalk, that just ends up being runoff, and you know, having a sprinkler go on for an hour can waste hundreds of gallons of water, or almost hundreds of gallons of water, running off into storm drains. So it actually takes a simple adjustment. I think that information distributed maybe to like a neighborhood meeting, I don't know if that's a common thing still these days, or flyers that instruct people how to turn literally screws on their sprinklers to reduce the amount of runoff that it produces. I think that simple measures like that can be immediately taken. Continuing on, funding, as I mentioned earlier, there's no particular ways that I thought of that could fund an extensive effort to undo all the damage to the watershed. There are certainly things like bike trails and bringing down the metro line and having developers mitigate the cost, but mostly looking at reducing the costs. Again, there's crowdsourcing that could reduce engineering and design costs specifically, and also promote an awareness and involvement in green activity. Policy, I said that, what did I say? Again, science should become policy. Also that the maintenance of sponges, and those safe sponges and stormwater sponges, could be mandated for large shopping centers, who would then, the proprietor of the shopping center area, and then they would charge the leases nominal fees, and they would be able to cover a cheap technology like sponges. Well, that was my 4-stage plan to restore the creek, and also a planned implementation. Thank you. And any questions?
My question was going to be, my question, Adele, was going to be how you're going to pay for all this.
Right.
But you talked about that a little bit. But
the issue that coming from mostly working in the school organization, you realize that you have no money and you need to get things done with money. So you're going to really be relying. I tried not to say anything or specify anything that was too costly until the renovation part. I realized that that's going to be almost a completely a county effort. And I know that they're spending anywhere between like $40,000 to $100,000 a site to restore these watersheds. So the main thing that I think we can do as a community is to reduce the other costs that I identified in the prevention stage, removal stage, and the preservation stage. That's where the most of the contributions from the community will come from. There was some talk, there was a suggestion of charging large landowners, especially shopping centers that are known for dumping the cost of certain technologies that we would want to implement, maybe integrate it into almost like building code or permits that they would have, and take that money from there and then pay for the sponges. But large scale funding, not anything particular.
I like the science fair crowdsourcing scholarship award idea to sort of brainstorm a lot of these things. But I also like the getting the Green Club or the Ecology Club to sell rain barrels.
Hi, my name is Laura Bilius, and I'm a junior at West Potomac High School, and these are my proposals/solutions for a better and cleaner watershed and creeks in our waterways. First, I'd like to say it was very astonishing for me to see the amount of trash and in our waterways, especially the Huntington Creek. Before the cleanup, I was really just oblivious of how much trash could be in our waterways, and also I was just oblivious to the fact of like the importance of creeks in general. But after the cleanup, I realized that it is with a group effort and working together that we as citizens can and community members can work together to resolve the issue. Also, an uncontaminated and flowing creek is necessary to filter most of the water that comes from the storm drains, but it cannot do this effectively if if waste and trash is a barrier in its way. So, moreover, clean waterways can be prosperous to communities in the long run by boosting jobs and property values. So there are many approaches we can take to bring awareness and involvement within our community. One, I propose that every neighborhood receive a newsletter or a pamphlet every now and then from Delegate Sorrell or another high official that highlights the negative impact of pollution in our and trash in our creeks and what they themselves can do to prevent it. I believe that if the newsletter or pamphlet is from a high official, then people will be more prone to take action and do something about it. Secondly, I'd like the issue to be more advocated in schools and the daily news and posters around school. This way the kids would have more exposure to the issue, and they can go home and advise the rest of their family members. To further add on, I really want to target elementary schools and go to their classrooms at an early age so they can make the right decisions for a cleaner environment. Thirdly, I'd like to organize more events, cleanup events at least twice in 2 months throughout the years, or even once a month throughout the year. So in this way, like, we can target, like Adele said, and we were discussing earlier, the environmental club, the ecology club, the National Honor Society, people who are really committed to service, and get them involved. So by constantly cleaning it, we can ensure a healthy creek step by step, little by little. Fourthly, I suggest writing a letter to the Mount Vernon Gazette and other local newspapers outlining the issue, asking them to advertise and cover the topics more. By this, we will get the word out more in communities and neighborhoods. And lastly, I plan on contacting, or we should all contact, corporate and successful businesses who can donate to this cause. I know funding is a huge problem. So I know, like, picking up trash doesn't need a whole lot of funding, but like ideas proposed by Adele and some of these other things and donations can cover costs like extra bags and gloves and just machinery to make the last task more troublesome. And the donations can also, like, assist with the cost of bringing more awareness into our neighborhoods and having more trash can sites where people pollute and trash the most. So we can call companies close to the creek like Shoppers or Bed Bath & Beyond and Staples and etc. Overall, I'm glad that we were able to make a small difference on one Saturday by picking up hundreds of bags worth of trash. With our continued effort and determination, I'm positive and convinced that we will succeed in the future. As citizens, it is crucial we do our part in keeping our waterways healthy and clean, and as a result, we will have a beautiful, thriving community for everyone to benefit from. Yeah. Any questions?
That's fine. You guys have any questions for her? No questions?
Nice picture of boarding.
Yeah, I was trying to, like, get a picture of, like, all the bags.
Does Walmart sell rain barrels?
I don't know. I don't know if Walmart or Lowe's does. All right. I have one question.
Could be all for local.
Lorette, I have one question.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. So, your community is right next to where we were cleaning up.
Yeah.
At least where we were cleaning up, not where you guys were cleaning up, but where we cleaning up where we walked. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to getting the people in your neighborhood to do some of these things you've listed?
One of the big obstacles is it's kind of like a very suburban community neighborhood, and I think if we just kind of, we have, like, very educated families in my community, so I think just kind of getting the word out more through these newsletters, because we have, like, the Homeowners Association of Group at Huntley Meadows, and just kind of sending pamphlets through them. Like, they really listen, like, because we have a community that really enforces its rules about not trashing and, like, always putting your trash can in the garage and just stuff like that, making a better and healthier community. So
Your community is right there on the creek.
yeah.
I mean, do you think that that most of the people in your neighborhood are aware of the extent of the problem right next to them?
I don't think so, and that's why I think, like, with the pamphlets and newsletters and just bringing more awareness, I think it would be a great idea to get them involved.
All right. Thanks.
I'm
Yeah.
Trish
Okay.
Rancho, and I go to West Potomac, and a senior. Alright, so the biggest problem today in our community is that a lot of people these days don't know what's going on around the nature and environment, and basically don't even care. The percentage of people that actually care is, like, little amount, so that's what I'm trying to target, like those younger kids, like Larib said. In elementary school, we should talk to them more about what's going on about our environment and have them volunteer for those type of activities. But I actually had a solution that I talked about my peers as well to have an opinion about them, and they said that they would have them implement stricter fines, like signs of they would find $500 fine, like in Potomac River. By Potomac River, I would see like fine signs, 505 signs, and that's what, like, for me, it would scare me to death. Like, I don't want to like put the trash there and get fined. But at the same time, a lot of people that put these laws don't even enforce it. So that's what I was thinking. Like, for instance, in Singapore, like, they're really neat freaks. So, I mean, how did they figure that out? Like, my aunt told me there would be people walking by the streets and actually talk to them about the community and why they should be able to recycle, clean up, and not be able to pollute the area. So that's what I agree most of the stuff that they said, that we should have the community aware by flyers, but also the media, since they would pay attention to more on that. So I was thinking, like, to have an advertisement in our own community talking about what's going on around and what's been damaged in here. Before, my family didn't know how to recycle, and I was the one to step up to tell them which ones they need to recycle and, like, have an actual bin. And from then on, I told them, like, step by step, like, what is the difference they're making by doing these things and not be able to pollute this planet.
Where would you do your ad? You said we'd run an ad. Like on TV or
I would say, like,
something?
schools, and have parent conference about these things, and have people have, like, principals email parents about these things to be aware of, like, what's their surrounding. The whole community-wise, I really don't think they're gonna care, because they're just gonna go home and just maybe think about it once, but not even do anything about it. So if they actually get to see the media of, like, what's surrounding them, I think they're gonna take an action if we do test the media to do these things. I was also thinking about building walls. I don't know if that's crazy. I talked to my dad about this. Like, if the creek is by the trailer park, and if they dump trash, or by any chance, like, flood comes by and then trash goes in there, like, I was thinking of, like, walls around it, but not high walls. I'm saying, like, walls, like, about this height, and then have, like, a little I guess kind of like a drainage kind of thing, where, like, if water falls down by the creek, and then, like, some of the trash wouldn't be able to go in the creek, so it'd be less polluted. Volunteer-wise of a community, like I said, I don't want really just schools to be involved. I also want, like, family members, workers around this community to be able to contact and be able to know what needs to be done, and also, like, about funding wise, maybe we should tax more. If we do have, like, find more bags of these trash, I think we should tax the people who are, like, Walmart, Staples, all the area by the creek, to build all these stuff and to have these people aware of things that's going on. So that's basically it.
Okay. And where do you live?
Like, behind the creek. Yeah, it's like the park is right there where I usually go, so I would see, like, the creek and stuff, but I wouldn't really see anything like the polluted part. But yeah, I'm right behind.
So did you realize there was that much trash in the creek until you went out there?
not at all. See, that's the thing, like not a lot of people know. So, I mean, I really would like the people to know about these things, because as soon as I walk in and see all this stuff, like, it's unimaginable to have.
Sounds like, though, that you think that if we did a better job of educating kids when they were students, they would in turn educate their parents.
Yeah, just exactly what I did. Yeah, I mean, I wanted my parents to go out there too, so maybe we should do more volunteering, not just once a year, but once a month, to prevent more cause of pollution.
So, and how young do you think we should start kids on this? When did you teach your parents? How old were you?
I was like 8. Yeah, 8 years old. So.
Second grade?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Up there.
So you think maybe Fairfax County, as part of their curriculum in second or third grade, ought to have a component on this thing? There we go.
All right, so my name is Ben Denault. I'm a senior from Mount Vernon High School, and I will be discussing with you all a way to reduce some of our trash. As you heard from my colleagues earlier, we went to Little Huntington Creek and we picked up a lot of trash. Something that I noticed that I was there is that I would say like 90% of that trash was bottles. So that's what my presentation is going to focus on. How do we get rid of bottles? All right, so I was going to come up with a brand new idea. So I just did an idea that's actually on the bottle itself. So let me read you. So the states of Connecticut, New York, Oregon, Hawaii, and Maine, you can redeem this bottle for 5 cents. But as you can plainly see, Virginia is not on there. And who can you blame for this? Our local delegates.
Thanks, Ben.
So I'm going to discuss how New York uses this kind of bottle initiative to get rid of these bottles, because it was a huge part of our cleanup. 95% of the trash we pulled out of there was bottles. Yeah.
It's because you weren't working in the shopping cart graveyard.
Yeah, there was a lot of shopping carts too. But mine's going to be very specific. Maybe there's an initiative for redeeming shopping carts. We'll come next after this. All right. So when I was researching the New York plan, something that they said is that 75% reduction of bottles in trash and in landfills was happened because of this initiative. So what this initiative is that you take these bottles and you can go to any store that sells a bottle, and you can redeem this bottle for 5 cents, or if it's a larger bottle, I know Michigan redeems larger bottles for 10 cents. And you can go to any of these stores. A store would be able to limit the amount of bottles that you can actually redeem at their store, because of course that would be a problem if one person was just dropping thousands of bottles at one store. And then much smaller stores will be able to take less bottles, and you can put slight restrictions on that. Something that these bottles will do is, like everyone will want to pick up bottles, because picking up a bottle is like picking up money. I'll share a story with you all. My aunt, who is from Vermont, which I'm not sure if Vermont was on here. No, I'm not sure. But she was from Vermont, and she came down, and we went down to the Potomac River, and we started picking up bottles. Well, she wanted to pick up bottles, and I just thought just because my aunt is super friendly to the environment and things like that. But, I was, 12. I really didn't want to do that. I just kind of wanted to play with my cousins. But then, when she found out, and I told her that Virginia is not on there, and you cannot redeem bottles for 5 cents, she kind of, stopped picking up all the bottles and doing all that. So you can see, even in my life, I've seen people kind of react to not being able to get 5 cents for this bottle. And of course, homeless people, this will give them something that they can do in their free time. They can pick up bottles. And, right? Homeless people that are on the street, they can go and pick up bottles.
I think it would prevent there being as many bottles left in the woods if they had a financial incentive to carry them out of the woods.
Exactly. Yep.
Right now, which they don't.
Right, and the financial incentive is, of course, a huge thing. Right, I know if this came out, then I would take my teenage boy over there and pick up 200 bottles and bring my girlfriend out on a date. So, and then of course there's this thing of funding. How are you going to fund 5 cents per bottle? Well, something else that New York did is they put a tax on soda. So you can take this tax and put it on each one of, you can put tax on soda, so put 10-cent tax on soda, and that could be one way that you could fund the picking up of these bottles, of the 5 cents per bottle that you would pick up. So you would not only be cleaning the environment, but you could use this tax to de-incentivize people, of course, drinking soda, which we all know is unhealthy for you. So that's kind of my whole spiel about bottles. My last kind of statement is really cleaning up the community really starts at home. You know, like the simple things of these things, right? Biodegrade. Do they ever biodegrade? Like 10 million years? Or, yeah, something like that. So obviously you can reuse the same bottle over and over again. Really, parents can really teach their kids how to be friendlier to the environment, or as some of my colleagues said, the kids can teach, in turn, teach their parents how to be friendlier to the environment with the incentives, with teaching kids or teaching people in the classroom. We can work on the ecology club. I really think kind of teaching kids from school at a young age or from home, right? The parents are always such a huge influence on kids' lives. And so if we can bring these incentives home, and the incentive of money, which will clean up bottles and we can push onto tires and shopping carts too, I'm sure that they will get cleaned up just as well. And that is my proposal to cleaning up Little Huntington Creek and all creeks in Fairfax County. Thank you.
I have a question. So before I was ever elected, there was a senator from Southwest Virginia named Madison Marie. And my understanding is that he put in a bottle deposit law for 14 years in a row. And it never got out of committee. I think. It never passed, clearly, because it's never been the law in Virginia. So, how is it, and the main reason for that is because the beverage industry, the bottling industry is very hostile to implementing that concept, and retailers are also very hostile to having to reprogram their computers and having to account for bottles going in and back or out and then back in to the state. It takes time, energy, effort of their employees. It's just something they don't want to do. How is it, what do you think is the sort of best argument that I can make to my fellow state legislators as to why it is we ought to overcome the opposition of all those people that are going to be affected with the burden of having to implement a system like that besides just the cost?
Well, obviously in this case you really have to look at like the long run, you know. You can, right, you're just simply doing the right thing. New York, I'm sure, went through a big thing. It was obviously probably a huge thing in New York. But they had, strong leaders, people that could see ahead in time a little bit. And I would hope that our leadership wouldn't really give into, the lobbying of soda companies and things like that, and would really take it upon themselves to kind of look forward a little bit in time and see that something like this would really, benefit the community, the county, the state. And so being a leader, you're elected to a position because other people can't make the decisions that you're going to make. And so I would expect them to, make the right decision.
I love the optimism of our youth. Well, thanks for that presentation. I actually take a vacation in New York every year, and have been collecting bottles when I go there on vacation every year for 40 years. So it definitely works, and there's definitely less bottles there. But there's a lot of political obstacles to overcome to pull that off in Virginia. But I think it is a good idea. So, all right. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.